Hi people, how y'all doing? Welcome and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. It's Sandra here and I'm back again with another video from Douglas Murray. So without no further ado people, let's just hop right into this video.
Well, I'm joined now by the radical cleric Anjem Chowdhury, one of the founders of the controversial Islamist organisation Al-Muhajirun, and by Julie Siddiqui from the Islamic Society of Britain. Also joining us from Amsterdam is Douglas Murray from the Henry Jackson Society. And before we talk to all of them, we've unearthed footage tonight which shows one of the alleged terrorists, Michael Balajo, at a protest by the now banned group Al-Muhajirun in 2007 outside Paddington Green Police Station in London. Anjem Chowdhury was also on the march. So one of the suspects attended your marches, listened to your lectures. You therefore helped radicalise him. Will you apologise for what's happened down in Woolwich?
I'm not going to apologise for exposing the crimes of the British government in Iraq or Afghanistan.
That's not the question I asked. You helped radicalise
let me answer the question
suspect.
in my way. Radicalisation is a stick which is used to beat the Muslim community. The fact is that there is conflation between exposing the British foreign policy, between things like rendition, Guantanamo Bay, killing innocent men, women and children, which I have no apology for whatsoever.
But
and we will continue to expose.
You helped radicalise this suspect, and now a British soldier is dead on the
allowing me
Woolwich
to answer the question
Street.
the way that I want.
The question I'm asking is, you helped radicalise him
let me just tell you something.
because you were there with him on these marches. Will you apologise?
Radicalisation is calling for the Sharia nowadays. Radicalisation is exposing the British government. Radicalisation is commanding good, forbidding evil. We say, and we've always said, that we live here under a covenant of security. It's not allowed to target innocent people in return for our life and work being secure. And we've said that over the years.
Radicalisation
but the fact is the biggest radicalising factor is the British government and their foreign policy.
But radicalisation is also about justifying violence, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Will you take some responsibility for what has happened on the streets of Woolwich?
Pejorative like radicalisation, fundamentalism, extremism is used by the British government to silence a section of the community which expose their own policies. There's something called Islam. Islam calls for the Sharia. Islam says that people have a right to defend themselves. And that's what we propagate. We don't propagate something outside of Islam.
Douglas Murray, how should the government respond to the kind of things that Anjem Chowdhury is saying there?
Well, it's very difficult in a way for the government because Al-Muhajirun and its offshoots have already been banned. Its offshoots have been banned for many years. And this group, of course, and its activities predate 9/11. I mean, I think it's very important to remember that Amer Mirza was convicted, first a member of Al-Muhajirun, was convicted in 1998 for his attempt to firebomb a British Army barracks. There have been a spate of attacks. We've worked out that about 20% actually of convictions, of Al-Qaeda-related terror convictions in this country, have a linkage with Al-Muhajirun and with Mr. Chowdhury.
OK, Douglas, let me put that point direct to Anjem Chowdhury. I mean, that's quite an astonishing figure. I mean, you take some responsibility for that, don't you?
No, not at all. I think that you need to make a distinction between legitimate political and ideological struggle, which we have been doing for about 15 or 20 years in this country. You know, I've never been arrested. I've never been arrested for organising any terrorist activities, any kind of military bases or anything like that. And the reality is that people we come across, we have a huge number of demonstrations and processions and activities. And of course, we come across many people. People may leave our own activities and do things outside of that. And we're not going to be accountable for that.
But there is nothing legitimate about radicalising Richard Dart, who plotted to bomb Wootton Bassett. How many jihadists have you? How many jihadists have you influenced? How many people have they killed?
Richard Dart was imprisoned for 9 or 10 months. He faced a choice between having about 20 years in prison or taking a plea bargain. He made a couple of phone calls. He typed a few things on a computer.
Wait.
The fact that he was forced to plead guilty doesn't mean that he was planning anything at all.
In court, you radicalised him. It was said in court that you radicalised Richard Dart.
Please.
How many jihadists would you say you radicalised?
For the British government and their own media wing, radicalisation is calling for the Sharia. Radicalisation is exposing their murderers in Muslim countries. Radicalisation is saying that we want the Sharia. The fact is that, you know, these kind of terms are used to demonise the Muslims and to justify your foreign policy.
OK, Julie Siddiqui, let me bring you in. What's your response to what you've heard there?
Well, I just want to first of all give my condolences and thoughts to the family, friends and the people of Woolwich, really, the family and friends of Lee Rigby. Of course, today we're seeing the face to a name, really, and it makes it even more horrific and very, very sad what we saw in our streets unfolding yesterday. You know, I think really all of us, any decent people in this country, will realise that this kind of rhetoric has no place whatsoever in this country. You know, what we saw yesterday and what we're seeing with the likes of the English Defence League, you know, for me, in both ends, they are trying to divide this country in a way that we won't stand for. You know, the good hundreds and thousands of good people in this country, you know, Al-Muhajirun and any of his offshoots have always only ever had tens of people, not hundreds, not thousands. You know, so really representing a very, very small number of people in this country.
And you mentioned the EDL there. I mean, there have been some mosques targeted by the far right. Do you think Muslims, mainstream Muslims, are fearful today?
I mean, I think Muslims do feel vulnerable today, and you know, some mosques were attacked yesterday, and we're hearing all sorts of other stories coming through. And of course, we have to all remain calm and measured to make sure that these things don't escalate any further, because that's obviously something that we don't want to see in this country either. So I think Muslims do feel vulnerable today, but I think overwhelming majority of Muslim organisations and individuals have come out in full force today to absolutely condemn and say that this kind of action has no place whatsoever in this country.
Douglas Murray, David Cameron said that these attacks will bring people together. Are we not terror-struck as a country?
No, I don't think so at all. I'm not terror-struck. You're not terror-struck. Almost none of the British nation, I should think, is terror-struck. What we are is united in disgust, Muslims and non-Muslims. You know, it's extraordinary, really, for most of us, because we've all witnessed Mr. Chowdhury and his group for many years trying to provoke the British people. He's got on his record not only these huge swathes of people that he has helped to radicalise, but of course he's also created the English Defence League, an incredible double whammy achievement for one individual. But you know, one of the things that's most interesting in this is the continual provocation of Mr. Chowdhury does not persuade and will not persuade most of us to believe that most Muslims are like Mr. Chowdhury. They are not. Most Muslims in this country are utterly disgusted by him and his actions. And the important thing to remember for non-Muslims is not to be provoked by Mr. Chowdhury, not even when he says, as he did earlier this year, that his £25,000 a year that he gets in benefits from the British state is what he calls jihad seekers allowance. If I may make one point.
Okay.
Mr. Chowdhury was almost certainly better paid than Drummer Rigby. That fact is something that we should mull on and, I would suggest, sort out swiftly.
Anjem Chowdhury, I mean, these suspects viewed the soldiers generally, as legitimate targets. Do you?
Well, let me just say, first of all, that Douglas Murray...
Wait a second.
Douglas Murray is talking rubbish. I'm not getting 25k a year.
We'll leave
I'm
that
not
aside.
on JSA, for your information.
Leave
Check
that
your
aside.
facts.
Yep, we'll
and she's
talk
wrong
about
as
that
well.
later, but
We don't
these
have 10 or 100 members.
Okay,
we have many.
right.
But the point
These
is,
suspects,
soldiers who are fighting in Afghanistan, obviously the people have the right to defend themselves. So what we say in Britain is that we have a covenant of security. In return for our life and wealth being protected, it is not allowed for Muslims to target the life and the wealth of the people with whom we live. But I tell you something.
Okay.
The people who are oppressing the Muslims is the British government. The people who are banning ideological and political struggle are the British government.
Okay,
They don't allow people to express
Chowdhury,
themselves.
you've had your time. You've had your say. Thank you very much. We have to move on now.
Wow, I just have one very very pondering question. Is he truly really a cleric? Because I don't think that is the attitude of a cleric. That isn't and shouldn't be an attitude of a cleric. Like, he has such an attitude and he has such an audacity, to be honest, because I don't even know why he was there, to be honest. I really don't know why he was there, what his aim was at, or even whatever message it was he was trying to really pass out, because I don't know, he just felt like he was in the Lulu world. If you guys know what the Lulu world means, it literally just means you being delusional and not facing reality. And I feel like in his case, him not facing reality is because he's actively trying to ignore reality, because I feel like everything is so glaring in this instance. So it was literally like the title said, you know, Douglas Murray left in speechless, blah, blah, blah. Oh no, I'm sorry to say, this is all title, because that man wasn't speechless. I felt like, if anything, Douglas was speechless, but not speechless in a state of defeat, but speechless in a state of like irritation and disbelief, because like, what exactly was that? Like, this is like, he wasn't even trying to be constructive, he wasn't trying to be reasonable, he wasn't trying to be pleasant, he just wanted to just be, I don't know, would I say radical? I don't even understand why he thought like that approach was the best. Pass on his message, whatever that may be. But I just have one thing to say, that if anyone is following that man, if that man is a leader in any setting whatsoever, it should really be checked, because you cannot follow someone who doesn't know the road. Okay, like follow who knows the road. And I don't think that man knows the road to whatever he's trying to achieve, to be honest. And for like he didn't let nobody speak. Like it was like we were in kindergarten, you know, where we're just trying to speak on top of each other, you know, we're trying to like just make our points, and the teacher isn't hearing anything because I have no words. Literally, I have no words. I have no take home whatsoever from this conversation, because I doubt it was even a conversation. But nonetheless, I don't think that is the best way to pass your message. I really don't think. Even if you came offended, you still need to compose yourself because you're in public. I don't know, people. This is what I think. This is literally my take home, if that's anything. Okay, but I would really want to know what y'all think about this. And I think I've encountered this man in one of Douglas Murray's video. He had the same attitude there. I can't really remember the title of the video, but I'm gonna go search for it and maybe put a link if you guys want to check it out. But I did encounter him in one of the videos, and like it was just a very weird situation, to be honest, because I'm like, I wasn't understanding what was going on and why what was going on. It was just super crazy, to be honest. But nonetheless, I did get into this. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who stayed through this video. If you did get irritated by this conversation and you still stuck around, thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate it, and I'm going to appreciate it more if you can put down your thoughts, your opinion, to comment, anything of that sort. I'm really going to appreciate it. But upon to the very next one, people, let's keep on staying safe and healthy. Okay, so bye.